Of India have waited 27 years for this day. 27 years after its inception, the Women Reservation Bill was tabled in Lok Sabha. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. Since last night, there has been palpable excitement in India on a legislation that could transform politics as we know it. For as long as I've been a journalist, I have seen the ritual of a bill coming to Parliament and then somehow getting buried, abandoned, and sometimes even torn. We have seen all of those scenes take place in our Parliament. Today, the Modi government committed itself to the passage of the Women Reservation Bill. The Prime Minister urged the members of the House, and symbolically, this bill was tabled in the new Parliament. He urged everybody to pass this unanimously. But will that happen? There are many, many questions that do arise that we don't know the answers to today, but we may find out tomorrow when the bill is actually debated. The bill, a six-page bill that was tabled in the public domain today, tells us that one-third seats will be reserved for women, not just in Parliament, but also in the state assemblies and also in the state of Delhi, which of course has its own unique structure. The reservation will be per rotation, the 15-year cap. All of this is similar to the earlier bill that was attempted to be brought by the Congress. There will be a 15-year gap. The seats will be rotated. However, this bill mentions delimitation and census as a requisite before this reservation can be unveiled, leading questions to which we don't yet have the complete answers. Nevertheless, it is a historic day. It is a momentous shift in politics. Remember, you're talking about a country where in the Lok Sabha, less than 15% of our elected members of parliament are women. And in some of the assemblies, the numbers are even lower. As of December 2022, 19 assemblies had only 10% or less women. To talk about this momentous day, its politics, but also its own implications for the women of India, let's introduce our guests on the program today as we look at this very, very historic day. Yashwant Deshmukh is with us. Yashwant is, of course, a psephologist, a political pundit, and on Sunday evening, he had declared that this session has to be about something special. It cannot just be vanilla, and the special has been revealed. You have been proven right, Yashwant. So thank you for that. Also joining us from the Congress is its spokesperson, Mita Chakraborty. Good to see you, Mita ji. Also joining us from the BJP today is Dr. Shraddha Rajput, leader of the BJP. Good to see you, ma'am. Joining us also back with us is Neerja Chowdhury, late last night, sharing in the palpable excitement that we were all feeling about this moment potentially becoming a reality. And also joining us is Dr. Manisha Priyam, who's of course a political commentator and a researcher. It's very good to see all of you. I just want to start by playing out an excerpt from what the Prime Minister said earlier today. Listen it.
हमारी सरकार ने इस दिशा में कदम बढ़ाया है। कल ही कैबिनेट में महिला आरक्षण वाला जो विधेयक है उसको मंजूरी दी गई है। आज 19 सितंबर की ये तारीख इसीलिए इतिहास में अमरत्व को प्राप्त करने जा रहे हैं। आज जब महिलाएं हर सेक्टर में तेजी से आगे बढ़ रही हैं, नेतृत्व कर रही है, तो बहुत आवश्यक है कि नीति निर्धारण में, पॉलिसी मेकिंग में हमारी माताएं, बहनें, हमारी नारी शक्ति अधिकतम योगदान दें, ज्यादा से ज्यादा योगदान। योगदान ही नहीं, वे महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाएं। आज इस ऐतिहासिक मौके पर नए संसद भवन में सदन की पहली कार्यवाही के रूप में उस कार्यवाही के अवसर पर देश के इस नए बदलाव का आह्वान किया है और देश की नारी शक्ति के लिए सभी सांसद मिलकर के नए प्रवेश द्वार खोल दें, इसका आरंभ हम इस महत्वपूर्ण निर्णय से करने जा रहे हैं।
The opposition has been anticipating, smarter than journalists, that this would be the government's move. And so for the last few days, they've actually been trying to preempt it and appropriate the narrative around it. Before I open the floor for discussion, Sonia Gandhi, asked in Parliament today to comment on the bill, said, Apna hai. Listen.
मैडम, महिला आरक्षण बिल आ रहा है संसद में, ऐसा कहा जा रहा है। आप मैडम, आपकी मांग थी मैडम, महिला आरक्षण, अपना है।
कई बार लिखा भी था मोदी सरकार ने।
It's ours, Apna hai. The fight over credit has already opened, while the details are awaited as to when this might become actionable, given that the bill links the process to delimitation and a fresh census. Before I come to the politicians, I must get a comment from Neerja Chowdhury. Neerja, we were talking last night that if the Modi government is able to make this happen, then all kudos to it. It will take its place in history. At the moment, the timelines have not been revealed. Those of us who've been studying the fine print think it could be a few years, but that doesn't take away from the big historicity of this moment today. Neerja Chowdhury.
Yes, I think if they get the bill passed, yes, it has an impact. Of course, as we were discussing yesterday, the credit for it goes to everybody, really, right from Rajiv Gandhi, who brought 1/3 reservation in the local bodies, wanted to bring and couldn't get it passed. When he was Prime Minister, Narasimha Rao passed it. Deva Gowda, as Prime Minister, introduced the bill in 1996. As we saw, as a picture show, women across parties have fought for it, raised the demand for it. And of course, UPA passed it in the Rajya Sabha in 2010, but didn't push ahead in the Lok Sabha because of reservations expressed by Lalu Prasad Yadav and Mulayam Singh Yadav and the OBC leaders. And finally, now Narendra Modi is all set to get it passed. But the electoral potency of it, Barkha, will it get affected if the bill does not become a reality in 2024 and becomes a reality only in 2029? That is the question mark also. Intention, yes. You move ahead, yes. But does it have the same kind of impact as it might have had it been actually had 181 additional women become a reality in the Lok Sabha in 2024? I don't know the answer to that.
I think that's a fair question, but in some ways that one should compliment the government even more, because they brought something that doesn't yield immediate electoral results necessarily.
Yes, that's right. So intention, symbolism has its place, but reality has a very different kind of, take. So I don't know. I think women are going to be enthused. This is my hunch. Certainly professional women, certainly urban women, but this time I feel rural women are also going to be enthused, because you have that large pool of women in the, in the panchayats and municipalities who have been prepared since 1993, with 1/3 reservation in those local bodies, and have had experience of governance. As I say, the ghungat has gone, the ghungat was very long when they took over. The ghungat has slowly been going up and has been shed. And it's no longer only panchpatis, but they themselves have been governing the local bodies. So I think the pool ready to move into state assemblies and into parliament.
Let me bring Shraddha ji as a woman in politics. Shraddha ji, today's day, Aaj ka din, what does it mean to you?
See, today's day is a very much important day for each and every woman who are living in Bharat, because today is a Ganesh Chaturthi and our special session has started in the new parliament building, and the first bill was introduced for the Women Reservation Bill. And apart from, I am coming from BJP, somebody is coming from Congress or any other party, me and women who are seated there, for us it is a very important bill, because when we are talking about the women reservation bill, it is our right, because 50% population is a women population, and women who are working at home and different areas of different kind of fields, different areas. Right now women is working in so many other fields in state and country. They do have their problems, and for that we need a policies, and for that we need a discussion, we need a debate, and for that we need a public representation. And I strongly believe that public representation, because whatever I have in my mind, or so many women have in mind, they can discuss very well with the women public representative. And right now in local bodies also 50%, where before that Neerja ji spoke very well कि घूंघट यहाँ से यहाँ आ गया है, मतलब ट्रेंड हो रही हैं लोकल बॉडीज में भी महिलाएं हैं, तो ये बहुत ही एक अच्छा दिन है. अपार्ट फ्रॉम पॉलिटिक्स, we as a women we must appreciate this bill. कोई पॉलिटिक्स नहीं होनी चाहिए.
तो आप एक तरह से आप कह रही हैं कि this is the moment to transcend politics, कि पॉलिटिक्स से थोड़ा ऊंचा उठिए.
Definitely. Otherwise, Barkha ji, whenever we are speaking about the women empowerment, seriously, I should not be biased, but we as a women, we are participating really in empowerment, or we are doing something which is not coming in the definition of empowerment. So, la to diya hai bill. Its discussion has been started from the Quota ji's. Several times it is introduced by the Atal Bihari ji's, because at that time we didn't have that kind of majority. तो ये पास नहीं हुआ था. In UPA also it is passed in Rajya Sabha 2010.
बिल्कुल.
Again, it is not passed in the Lok Sabha because of some reason, whatever they didn't introduce in the Lok Sabha.
So let me the point you're making, Shraddha ji, is कि आज का दिन ऐसा दिन है कि आप कांग्रेस बीजेपी उस तरह की पॉलिटिक्स मत करिए, ये औरतों का दिन है.
अगर if we all are believing that true women empowerment, we must be united.
Okay,
if we are believing for women empowerment.
Okay. Let me bring in Mita ji. Some of the most moving images historically. The left and the right don't agree on anything, but those old images of Brinda Karat and Sushma Swaraj, Najma Heptullah hugging, these are very stirring, very powerful images, right? And I think that we should look for that kind of energy today instead of fighting over political credit. Ho sakta hai kuch saal lag jaye, but a beginning has been made, or another beginning has been made. That's how I will put it. Mita, would you agree with that?
Okay, good evening to all your viewers. It has been a long-standing demand of the Congress party to have this bill passed. Let us not forget that it was Rajiv Gandhi ji who introduced the idea of panchayat level and urban local body 33% reservation for women. Then it was P.V. Narasimha Rao who got it implemented during his time. And then it was in 2010 during UPA 2 under Dr. Manmohan Singh, and when the UPA chairperson was Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, when this bill actually got passed in Rajya Sabha. We didn't have the necessary numbers that we needed to pass it on Lok Sabha, so we could not pass it on Lok Sabha. We have been constantly writing. There are multiple times when Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, when Mr. Rahul Gandhi, the former Congress presidents, have written to the Prime Minister of the day, asking him, demanding and requesting him to pass this in Lok Sabha, because BJP clearly had that mandate and could have done it in the past 9 years. They had the number since 2014. It was unfortunate that it was not done. And today, when it is being tabled in Lok Sabha, it has come with a new clause which was not there in the original bill that was passed in 2010 in Rajya Sabha, because it now links it with the decadal census, the census results being published, and the delimitation exercise taking place after the results being published. So my limited query is that people who had been looking forward to its implementation before the 2024 general elections, we will possibly not see it in 2024. We'll possibly have to wait till 2029 parliamentary elections to see the actual implementation. Having said that, being a woman in politics, I have contested Lok Sabha in 2019. Yes, I have not won. And being a Congress spokesperson, and being someone who does not come from a political family background, being a professional, because I'm an IT professional who joined, who made a lateral entrant into politics. I know it is not easy for women across the political divide. If you're not someone's wife, if you're not someone's daughter, and this is across political spectrum, it is not easy to make an impact. And the kind of challenges women face, I mean, personally, many people are anti-reservation and they will say, you are educated, you work for it, you work for your space. Fair enough. But the kind of challenges a woman faces when she does not come from political space, political background, is tremendous. And to make an impact, we have to work doubly the hard, really push aggressively.
I think that's the one thing.
Absolutely welcome by all women across political lines.
Thank you. I was just going to say that last point. I think nobody would disagree with. Intuitively, we may have all said reservation ki kya zarurat hai. Once upon a time in our lives, till we actually started living and saw how much resistance there is to actually women in the political space. Dr. Priyam, your thoughts today? I think there are valid questions. Ki ho sakta hai kuch saal lagenge. The decadal census has to take place. The current law says delimitation can only take place after 2026. The opposition is asking ki ye do muddon ko joda hi kyun? But it's not stopping women from celebrating today. How do you feel, Manisha Priyam?
No, it's definitely a celebratory moment. 3 decades. And I saw parties closest and dearest to my heart and propagating the social justice agenda. Whenever this women's reservation bill issue was passed, they would come down saying, the one should not talk about it. But the Parkati Mahila comment, which led me
Sharad
to actually,
Yadav.
well, he's no longer there, so I don't want to remember
But
him
he said
that
it,
way.
historical
Yeah,
fact. But
and
anyway, yes.
I belonged to a social justice wala family. My parents were all leaders in that. So I never became a Parkati, therefore. But the chance never came. And let me tell you, across political divide now, the situation has changed a lot. Even in the social justice party families now, their children have studied, their daughters have gone to good schools, and there is a general feeling of greater egalitarianism in the youth ecosphere, so to say. So this is a huge tribute to the women who have led and championed. Ranjana Kumari, one of those who should be remembered today as
She
somebody.
was on a program last night, so we haven't
I
forgotten
know,
her.
I couldn't
Yes,
join in.
yes,
So,
yes.
but the one thing that I want to still tell you, because I have been spending my time on the ground, and I can tell you that yes, it's a yes, I can see her right there. It's a celebratory moment. It's a moment where women who asked for these things were seen as andolan jivis. Andolan kar rahi hai, ye ghar wali nariyan nahi hai. So suddenly, just with this bill being brought to the table of the parliament, whatever the limitations, women are no longer the Andolan Kartas. And also, India's belief that the constitution is the instrument to challenge inegalitarian spheres. The constitution is the instrument through which you can challenge inequality and move towards greater equality. I think the nesting of caste within gender has been a very important step that the most populous democracy in the world has taken. Now, having said these laudatory comments, I can tell you that in a world where, in an India where India's democracy is dependent on the Bahubalis still to win elections, especially north of the Vindhyas. Remember how difficult it's been to arrest a Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh or to bring him to book. The law is taking its course, but if had it been anybody else, they would have been under some kind of custodial interrogation of sorts. So we understand very much. You ask any politician in UP and they will tell you only because of the political clout he or she wields. So the fact is that unless we have some ways in which the ground below begins to cede and give way to women, it's not going to
Yeah.
be dramatically different as long as we need the Bahubalis to get us to power. But women will challenge. Can you see that? The picture, the selfies, the moment across political parties, all of them coming together. It will challenge them, it will hurt them. And beyond that, it will also unsettle many of these politicians because they don't know
Absolutely.
who will become the किसका टिकट कटेगा वो पता नहीं. और वो टिकट जब कटता है तो जरूरी नहीं है कि वो अपने बेटी या बहू या बीवी कोई वहां ले आ सके. There'll be many more women challengers who will rise up. So I do see this as a very progressive movement. I do see this as a moment when the constitution has been used as a moment of as an
That's
instrument of moving towards
That's
egalitarianism.
I think that's very well said. I mean, it really does make you feel the power and the pulse of democracy and the constitution. Yashwant, let's bring you in. There will be time to study the fine print. There will be time to ask the questions that the opposition is asking. Why link this to the census? Why link this to delimitation? But it's a big day. It's a big, big day.
Well, Barkha, it's a fabulous panel of 5 fabulous ladies out there. So let me start with congratulating all of you and all the entire country, actually, because this is an amazing day for sure. Yes, we can all disagree on how much time it will take. It might take some more time, but this cannot be put on an indefinite period for sure.
Yeah.
So it's a huge, important step in the right direction. And I just cannot help but even remember Sushma ji, because I know personally how hard she, along with Brindaji, really worked hard to put people across the political spectrum to bring along together on this particular issue. Unfortunately, it was not in her lifetime that this has, seen the light of the day. But nevertheless, amazing camaraderie of that generation that we have seen, and I hope so that this camaraderie of all the female leaders on and off the floor continues, to ensure that this gets delivered. And of course, there are going to be issues on implementing, because as the panelists mentioned, that number one, delimitation, number two, census, and then the third one, to exercise it in the way. There are going to be a lot of challenges in going about it. So somehow I still do believe, I feel very strongly that these things can be done later on, but I don't see any reason why it cannot be implemented in 2024. Honestly speaking, if you are ready for it, implement it. You can keep on changing the boards and the modalities of it as and when the census happen, as and when delimitation happen. What doesn't change, what won't change, is that 1/3 of that will be reserved for female. So it can be started right away, right now. As far as I am concerned, I believe that there should not be a pressure. Let go of the pressure. There should be a all-party pressure on this one, that okay, if you are ready for it, let's go ahead for the next step. But
so you're saying, wait, I just want to because currently, and the current law says delimitation will happen after 2026. You're saying in the process of the debate, technically, all parties could come together and say delimitation छोड़िए, ये बाद में होता रहेगा, साथ में होता रहेगा, ये अभी करिए. यशवंत,
इट इज अलग है, आपका फंडामेंटल तो सेम है ना, चाहे वर्तमान स्वरूप में हो, चाहे आने वाले स्वरूप में हो, किसी भी स्वरूप में 1/3 महिलाओं का आरक्षण होना चाहिए. इट्स अ फंडामेंटल थिंग. So it has actually nothing to do with delimitation, nothing to do with the census, nothing to do with anything whatsoever. If you agree to put 1/3, put it out. Simple. You can always change it as per the new delimitation, as per the new census. Because I was in another debate, there was a debate about delimitation. What will happen if the new delimitation says the southern states get lesser number of seats, northern states get more number of seats because of the population thing that is in problematic. Then due to the pandemic, the census has been put on hold. How well that census will go on? So that is kind of a thing which is like for many valid or invalid reasons. I'm not going into the legalities of that, but it tends to put it further away. What I'm simply trying to say, if fundamentally you are okay with that, करना है. कल के दिन अगर 1000 लोगों की लोकसभा बनती है तो 1000 का 33 हो जाएगा. कल के दिन यूपी की 200 सीटें होती हैं तो उसका 33 हो जाएगा. जो भी होता है 33 इज द फिक्स नंबर ना बाबा. So let's stick to that. So
तो आप कह रहे हैं करना है तो अभी करो. तो let's actually not कि बाद में मत करो, पर अभी ही कर दो, and there are ways around it, and that's the point that you're making. You don't have to be stuck to this delimitation. You don't have to link it to delimitation at all. That's also the point you're making. वो बाद में workout होता जाएगा. Let's actually spend some time not to reduce this to electoral politics, but to talk about the politics of it. श्रद्धा जी, मैं आपसे शुरू करती हूँ. यशवंत देशमुख ने कहा कि भाई छोड़िए ना delimitation, अब सबकी मंजूरी है, कोई डिफरेंस नहीं है. प्रधानमंत्री ने खुद बात की ऑफ यूनानिमस सपोर्ट फॉर दिस बिल. देन क्यों इंतजार करा रहे हैं आप भारत की महिलाओं को? आई एम श्योर एज अ वुमन यू आर आल्सो इम्पेशेंट. आपके चैलेंजेस और मीता के चैलेंजेस, आप दोनों अलग पार्टीज में हैं, लेकिन एक तरह से चैलेंजेस सिमिलर रही होंगे.
Definitely, me and Mita both are coming from the non-political background, so definitely अभी उन्होंने जहाँ बोला तो वहाँ I can feel about. जो यशवंत जी आपने कहा है तो डेफिनेटली मैं भी ये मानती हूँ कि why it is, but still आप देखिए कि जो हमने नंबर ऑफ विमेंस को टिकट दी है वो ज़्यादा है दूसरी पार्टियों से. आज नंबर ऑफ फीमेल्स जो मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट हाउस में है वो बीजेपी की ज़्यादा है, जहाँ लोकसभा है वहाँ पे. अगर मैं गुजरात की बात करूँ तो 26 हमारे एमपी में से 6 एमपी फीमेल हैं जो यहाँ से वहाँ रिप्रेजेंट कर रही हैं. और अभी 2022 में जो विधानसभा इलेक्शन हुआ है, हमारी ऑपोजिशन पार्टी से ज़्यादा हमने फीमेल को टिकट दिए हैं, और उसमें से 15 में से 14 उन्होंने इलेक्शन फाइट भी किया और जीत भी गए, कंटेस्टेड, एंड दे वन द इलेक्शन, एंड राइट नाउ दे आर इन द लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली एज वेल. And in our party, यशवंत जी आप सेफोलॉजिस्ट हैं, only the BJP is the party who having a 33% reservation in the संगठन for female, main संगठन body. We do have a 33% reservation for female, and then after we do have the exclusive महिला मोर्चा as well. तो ये बात तो हमारी पार्टी में हमेशा से रही है, हमने टिकट्स भी दी हैं, और मैं स्पेसिफिकली गुजरात से हूँ, तो मैं ये कहना चाहूँगी कि जब हमारे तत्कालीन चीफ मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी जी से, तब से ये है कि जो पार्टी की सीटें जो जीत सकते हैं वहाँ पर ही फीमेल को टिकट दो, ताकि फीमेल का रिप्रेजेंटेशन बढ़े। और मैंने कहा कि अपार्ट फ्रॉम पॉलिटिक्स बरखा जी, महिलाओं को अगर आगे आना हो तो हम सभी को मिलके पहले इसमें, मैं मानती हूँ कल टेक्निकल डिस्कशन डिबेट्स ऑल विल हैपन इनटू द पार्लियामेंट, एंड दैट मस्ट बी, क्योंकि हम महिलाएं, हमें कुछ ऐसे नहीं चाहिए, हमारा हक है, कर लेने तो कल डिबेट सबको, हमारा हक है और हमें मिलेगा। शुरुआत तो हुई है ना, आज नहीं तो 5 साल में, और डेफिनेटली यशवंत सिन्हा जी 181
पांच साल नहीं रुकना, 27 साल हो गए रुकते हुए श्रद्धा जी।
हाँ, नहीं अभी देखिए, पेशेंस के लिए हम सब जाने जाते हैं। 181 का फिगर होगा हमारे पार्लियामेंट के अंदर, न्यू पार्लियामेंट के अंदर, और ये देश के अंदर ये हमारा अधिकार है। 50% है हम लोग, 50% हम लोग वोट करते हैं, हम जेंडर है, हमें कास्ट में ना बांटा जाए, हम में ही बहुत महान है। तो इन सब चीजों में कल जितना भी इन मेल और सबको डिस्कशन करना है पार्लियामेंट में कर लेने दो, हो जाएगा। 181 का जो मेडिकल
है वो before I come to Mita, Yashwant had an interjection. Yashwant, please बोलिए.
Just one point. I mean, I agree that even if given on their own, parties will not field even 33% females on their own. I mean, that's a harsh reality unless they are forced by law to do that. There could be a way of forcing the parties, even by the law, that at least 33% of tickets have to be distributed to female candidates. So there are 100 ways. But one thing which I want to say, Barkha, that is a hard fact and number-based thing. That hard fact and number-based thing, I have seen in the social media many of the voices saying, "Isse kya ho jayega? Reservation se kya hota hai? Kyun nahi? Kya farak pad jayega?" I tell you what difference it is going to make. It is proven by numbers, Barkha. Globally speaking, the number of female in governance, that number, when it increases, the quality of life and the administrative parameter of those societies also increase. So funny thing, those who do not know, if you look into the top ranked countries in terms of quality of life, in terms of administrative skill, in terms of governance parameters, you will see a direct correlation. As the number of female MPs go up, the ranking of those states in these parameters go up. Because simple one reason, females are better administrators. Males find it hard to believe, but that's the fact. That's the bottom line. It's empirical fact.
Well, thank you for saying that, Mita. It just occurs to me that if there is, I wonder what the response of parties internally is going to be. छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल है, जब हम सेंट स्टीफेंस कॉलेज में स्टूडेंट्स थे, देयर वाज नो हॉस्टल फॉर वुमेन, and you therefore couldn't become the president of the students union because only day scholars were not allowed to contest. तो हमने जब ये मांग शुरू की, तो लड़कों ने कहना शुरू किया कि भाई आप तो फिर हमारे नंबर्स कम कर रहे हैं, आप हमारे नंबर्स कम कर रहे हैं. There was big pushback even from my own friends, and it occurs to me that maybe I could be wrong. The time is not for delimitation and all of this, but you have to prepare. You either have to increase the seats, so you have to prepare a lot of men for not getting the chance to contest elections in the way that they may be used to. This is going to change politics in all the parties. Mita?
Yeah, I think I would tend to agree with what Yashwantji said some time back. That, why link this with delimitation, with census? India is the only country in the G20 which has not done its decadal census, which was supposed to happen in 2021. But even after COVID, we had time till 2023 to complete the census, and it has not happened. Now, but why link it with census and delimitation? Even if the number of seats are going to change, as long as we have the base number of 33% fixed, we can just stick to 33% and stick to the whole reservation thing. That's number one. Number two, if you look at the Congress structure, it was in UP, Priyanka Gandhi ji came up with this tagline, Ladki hu, lad sakti hu, gave 40% of the tickets to women candidate. Of course, organizationally
But they
in UP,
didn't.
we
But they
were
didn't do well. Those women didn't do well. Maybe because the
If,
Congress structurally was
yes,
weak in UP.
yes,
Yes.
because because Congress was structurally, organizationally not in a very strong position in UP at that time, and even the male
Yeah.
candidates did not do any better. So, but
Correct.
the fact that she came up with this thought, and she really pushed for this 40% reservation in ticket distribution. If you look at Dr. Tharoor's platform within Congress, which is AIPC, All India Professional Congress, that has already got 33% reservation. I entered Congress through AIPC. So we are used to having one third office bearers being only women in that group, and it functions perfectly. And not only in governance, if I can just extend this to the corporate governance as well, in corporate structures as well, we are trying to push for better gender equality. When you have
Yeah.
better representation from all genders, we have better, more inclusive policy making, we have more inclusive governance, we have much more productivity, and we get to see every section being represented correctly.
I think.
So I
I
think
think they
in
gave.
any organization, there should be better gender equality and better
I
gender
couldn't. Could. I
representation.
think we all agree with that. But I'm going to spend now with Manisha and Neerja looking at the politics of this. Dr. Priyam, Neerja Chowdhury said in the beginning, will there be there will be kudos, there will be accolades, there will be well done, and if parliament comes together unanimously, nothing better than that. But of course politicians are politicians, and the Modi government will say the credit is ours. Neerja says, will there be an electoral bump? Because remember, more women marginally voted than men in 2019. Are women a political constituency without being stratified by caste, region, religion, and so on? Or do you think it doesn't matter what the electoral consequence of this is? Manisha?
So I think the electoral consequences are manifold. One of which is, the headline item is who's going to take credit, and of course you saw Sonia Gandhi say "Mera hai," and of course saw Narendra Modi ji walking from the old Parliament, but with him in his camaraderie list, the first two, three, four rows were all men. The women came in the Parliament. Of course, Smriti Irani was thumping very loudly. But if you can see these visuals, I don't see the women there. So certainly, women are a political object. Women are a route to power. Women have been voting in Bihar. They've been referred to as the chuppa voters, the silent voters. Even at the peak of the elections, when Nitish and Lalu were in two different camps, I would find that even in the Yadav households, where the Yadav men were still planning to vote for Lalu Yadav, who's literally their messiah, the women would come out and indicate and talk about schools, talk about meals in schools, talk about cycles, and talk about these programs that in a state as backward as Bihar, qualifying to be sub-Saharan Africa. Of course, in Tamil Nadu, being the other end, women have been voters, and it's been a very important part that, people call it freebies, but things have been given to entice them to vote
The
for
mixies.
parties.
I
Yeah,
remember the mixie grinder.
what
Yes.
about the Mangal Sutra gold for women and saris and this and
Yeah.
that? The BJP, I've seen saris with Kamal printed on it being given out to women. But I think women have moved far ahead of that. In Bihar itself,
Yeah.
if I go back, Renu Devi, for example, who became a deputy chief minister for the BJP, is a woman who had risen from the ranks. Many women who've served in panchayats now claim for tickets. So there is a stirring down below. At one level, there is a credit taking politics. At another level, you find that there is a stirring down below where women who've served in panchayats, especially for state level assembly elections, they become tiktarthis. And you can see that when political parties that have space to give new tickets, when they open up their dates
Yeah.
for filing applications, the number of women who want to join in are very large. In the Aam Aadmi Party, lot of women, educated women professionals came up and said, oh, here's a safe political party and we can go there. But not all of this is as rosy as I am making it sound. Remember, I don't want to keep taking that name time and again. On the ground, when I go, I find that electoral constituencies, especially to the north of the Vindhyas, in the heartlands of Bihar and eastern UP, are divided for Bahubalis. Now, these are not even referred to as assembly or parliamentary constituencies. Ye
Yeah.
ilaka inka hai. ये यहाँ के बड़े नेता हैं, and irrespective of political parties, these are the big dabangs. There is a big Rajput Thakur leader from Balia, for example, who was with the SP, is now the right hand man of Mayawati, is supposed to have helped the BJP come to power this time. So politics has no color, but the power that men have, somehow women have to learn to craft that power somehow. Asking and demand making is one part of it, but if women have got it, somehow they need to challenge the structures. Now let me conclude by telling you that of my most favored JP movement, I would find that at the time of the Andolan itself, when George Saab was in hiding in residences near ours, when Karpuri Thakur was, he had donned on the bhesh of being a Sardarji and nobody could recognize him. I saw many women school teachers who'd left their jobs and they joined the movement. But after that, for the next many years, and especially after the 1990s, when the JP Andolan Walas have been in power in Bihar, I saw none of those who were in the movement ever come up to the higher ranks of power. So women, if you've got it, congratulations, but learn how to crack the whip hard. Learn this art of politics. The skill of politics is something very different from just being given a quota or a reservation.
I think the important thing that you say is that there's still an apologizing for ambition and power, or if not an apology, is certainly a kind of diffusing of it in the way that men don't. I have to close, Neerja, just with a political thought. Neerja Chowdhury, your thoughts on how this is politically going to play out. And Yashwant's very important point, ki abhi kar do. You also started with this. Why the delay? And what might the political consequences of that delay might be?
I think, Barkha, the fact they have linked it to delimitation, they need not have. They could have just gone for a straight 1/3 reservation as the earlier bill was. Now, the earlier bill had lapsed, as they said, and a new bill had to be brought, whether it had to be different. Now, what they have not addressed is the resistance of men and political groupings within political parties, even as in the past they took position supporting the bill. The quota within a quota was just a ploy.
Yeah.
Many were firing off the shoulders of Lalu Prasad Yadav and Mulayam Yadav and Uma Bharti, who also opposed it, if you will recall. It is the fear of losing their seats in that 1/3 rotation. It could be Baramati, it could be Mainpuri, it could be Ottawa, it could be Madhepura. The sword could fall anywhere, and the seat would go. The seat that the leaders had nurtured. So that fear is not yet addressed even in the new bill. The seats will go rotationally. 1/3 will, they will lose 1/3. Whose seats it will be, we don't know. So how will the men, and this is not patriarchal attitudes I'm talking about. This has nothing to do with patriarchy, according to me, because these very parliamentarians have passed very many pro-women bills in the House. So it had to be fear of losing their seats, and that has not been addressed. But what they will have to contend with this time? Lalu Yadav, Akhilesh Yadav, Tejasvi Yadav, Nitish Kumar, the OBC leadership is, to me, it was symbolized by what I found in the heartland of Haryana, in the families of the wrestlers, where the parents of these wrestlers who had made complaints about molestation in a very highly male-dominated area as far as training went, they said they wanted their daughters to make a mark, not just in India, but worldwide. The aspirations for their daughters had gone through the roof. They felt they could excel. And I think I feel this often when I traveled at election time. The aspirations and the stars in the eyes of the younger women of India about what they want to achieve is just phenomenal. It's the most heartening thing you come across in the country. And sometimes, Barkha, I say this, that this century will belong to the women, in particular to Indian women, and even in more particular to the young Indian women. Because, they will do things, they will excel and bring in energy of a kind that could really transform the country in a way.
I
So
think
that is the force these politicians will have to contend with.
I was going to close, but Yashwant is wanting to add a point. But I do think that's why I shared my college hostel story, that, to make men make way for seats that they will no longer be fighting. Yashwant, very quickly.
Yeah,
I really
very
have to close
quickly.
after this.
You're so well said, Neerja ji, and I couldn't agree more. And just from the data perspective, women are already driving the politics of India, Barkha. You remember we did a show after the UP election, and when I was dissecting the issues on which people voted, male voted on caste, Hindu, Muslim, blah 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 blah. Females voted on toilet bana ki nahi bana, राशन मिला कि नहीं मिला, law and order बेहतर हुआ कि नहीं हुआ. Females of this country are voting on the issues which actually matter from the governance perspective. So they have already changed the game, because all these government, all these politicians are forced now to come up in the campaign with the kind of policies, with the kind of so-called Labharti. What the Labharti thing is there, it is nothing but the governance, issues of governance which have been forced from the female electorate. If they can do that much by being on the back seat, imagine what they can do when they are in the driving seat. That's what my point is, and that's where I would like to congratulate you, all of you, again, and I hope this just materializes way earlier than all of us we are anticipating.
Well, I'm just being told that Uma Bharti has just given a statement opposing this bill, so some things don't change that. Some things don't change that easily. There will still be structural resistance in pockets of Indian politics. But I think the time has come. One of the things that I've struck by Yashwant, Neerja, and Mita and Shraddha ji is marshals had to be called in. I don't know how many of you remember. Marshals had to be called in 2010 when the bill was passed in Rajya Sabha. We're in a very different India now. Women have changed the discourse. Women have changed. The women's movement success. I think today is the day to actually doff our hat to the women's movement of India, because it has actually pushed the envelope, pushed the margins of acceptance and also of aspiration. And today, Uma Bharti would be a solitary voice, I think, as political unanimity builds up, and the parties that oppose this bill in 2010 would not dare to do so now. Let's end on that note. Thank you very much to our panel. And yes, it is a historic day, and the ifs and buts can follow. But I hope, as Yashwant said, that this happens sooner rather than later. Let's not push this away anymore into the future. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.